Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Briefing. I'm Jeff DeForest, along with Mike Lubie. And wow, it's one of those nights, right, where you're thinking to yourself, is there enough action? I mean, you literally had to be, once again, gargling with Visine to keep up with all the stuff that was happening. Although there is the one series which has turned out to be sensational in the NBA, which for some reason Adam Silver and the powers that be in the NBA do not want you to see 1 second of. Because I believe what turned out to be a thriller in Manila type of game, the Orlando Magic in what was a pivotal Game 5, going against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavaliers favored in the series, favored in this game. It's on their home wood. And this one seesawed back and forth, something like 800 lead changes, a dozen ties, and it comes down to the final second. Sensational plays, both ends of the court, but it was on Discovery Channel. I think I saw it came on after like reruns of Tiger King. It was insane. I don't know why they're burying the series, but it was a lot of fun. And if you were betting last night, you no doubt had a lot of fun because it was Elimination City in both the NBA and the NHL. And if you're going to Bet Online is your number one source for all your summer sports this season. From MLB, golf, NBA, and NHL playoff stats, all the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, a lot of people into that, Lubie, and odds on just about every sport that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on all the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right, where do we begin, Lubie? Elimination. You know, one of the things that everybody loves about sports is the symbiotic relationship that it has to things that happen to the average schmuck like you and me in real life. Now, facing elimination, I don't know how many times you faced elimination. The last time I recall seeing you in an elimination circumstance was when we got that call from the program director. And she said, well, could you guys come down the hall here? I actually wasn't there at the time. It was during COVID. You were in the studio. And then you had to suffer through the indignity of being escorted out of the place by a security guard. You're in the parking lot and you're saying to yourself, why the fuck was I eliminated from this job? At first, you're angry and you're thinking, don't worry about it. I'll go right across the street to the next radio station and I'll be a star over there. I'll bury these guys. And then you realize you have no shot. It's over. It's over, Johnny. It's over. It's time to, get your stuff and realize that maybe a copy of the classifieds. I remember a great boxing trainer that I knew in Los Angeles named Benny Giorgino. Not the most famous of boxing trainers, but if you Google him, he was a real character. He really fit the bill of being a boxing trainer because, of course, what was his side business, Louie? He was a bail bondsman. He was always telling me about, you have to be in there with a shot. And that, if you're going to have any chance whatsoever, elimination, it leaves you just startlingly alone. And then he used to say, hey, listen, if the guy doesn't have the goods, I hand him a copy of the classifieds because it's time to look for another job. No, that's what these teams would have been doing. 4 games last night in the NHL, Louie. Where do you want to begin? NBA? I know you're a bigger NBA guy than a hockey guy.
I try to pay attention. I didn't see the results, actually. I try to pay attention to the Maple Leafs and the Bruins because I know that's the Panthers' next opponent, but the Knicks-Sixers game got very interesting.
That was an excellent ball game. The game that was buried, of course, so Orlando and Cleveland would have stolen the show. Huge swings back and forth in this ball game, and it was very tightly contested. But nonetheless, the momentum kept shifting right down to the final couple of plays. Surprisingly, when facing elimination, what happens, Libby? Do you muscle up? Do you get more intense? I mean, all the cliches applied to these games last night.
Yeah.
4 of them elimination games in the NHL, and 2 of the 3 that were contested in the NBA involved teams that were on the short end of a 3-1 count in the opening round of the playoffs. Backs are against the wall. It's do or die. It's all or nothing. Can you think of anything else that we can throw in there if we were just going to be an announcer and throw in a ton of cliches about what was going on last night? This is it. It's all on the table. All the money's on the table. Everything that you could possibly say about an abrupt finish to the season, what was in play. 76ers and the Knicks, it looked like the Knicks had this one, didn't it? Looked like it was over for the Philadelphia 76ers. You had Joel Embiid. I think he's in worse shape than the English patient at this point. What isn't hurting Joel Embiid?
He looks like a shell of himself, and it's led him to making really stupid turnovers, and he's doing like 4 or 5 of them a game, which I don't know if it's the injuries or he's tired or whatever it is. He looks like garbage, and he's literally getting in the way of Tyrese Maxey, who's you've been a fan of for a while, who's literally becoming like.
I told you this guy was going to be a star. You argued with me vehemently opposed to the idea that Tyrese Maxey was any more than just a little flash in the pan, Lubie. I don't know if you want to amend your opinion. You were hardly Hubie Brown on this thing.
No, he's great. I mean, I didn't think he wasn't good. I just didn't think he was a superstar, and he right now is. I mean, what he did last night was. I actually thought the game was over. I literally changed to go watch the.
It looked like it was finished, didn't it?
They had just got. I think it was a 5-point game. The Knicks got a steal, and the Sixers just had nothing left. There was like 40 seconds left. I'm like, okay. It's done.
Time to turn the TV and see if Deadliest Catch has a rerun going somewhere. I love seeing these guys out in the high seas catching crab. It's unbelievable. Maxey, 46 points in the ball game, including a three-pointer that was a backbreaker for the Knicks. It seemed impossible. And, of course, the 76ers go on and win this thing, 112-106. So they're now 3-2. Still on thin ice, going back to Philadelphia, which turned out to be somewhat of a home court for the New York Knicks. Very surprising. If the Philadelphia fans allow that many Knicks fans to infiltrate the, the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, then they should definitely, live in disgrace the rest of their lives, because that was ridiculous, hearing MVP chants for Jalen Brunson, who played again like an MVP. Hubie, by the way, is in the paper today. Hubie Brown, the aforementioned one, absolutely loves this guy. And I still can't get over the idea that Hubie Brown would embrace the drafting of Billy Barty, a circus midget, and say, hey, that's a stroke of genius. You get the smallest guy you possibly can. You stick him in the lineup. They won't be able to find him. I tell you what, this guy can handle the ball like Marcus Haynes. This is a home run for whoever drafted this circus midget. But no, Hubie was all over Jalen Brunson being one of the best players in the NBA, maybe the best Knick run ever. And was Hubie not coaching when Bernard King had that run in the mid-'80s?
Probably.
I believe he might have been, right? No, that was Red Holzman, you old fart. No, I think it was Hubie Brown, so he knows of what he speaks. Anyway, did he give the 76ers a chance for the miracle comeback in this series now, Lubie? What do you think? What is your overall assessment there?
I just don't know if Maxey can do that again. They sort of need. I mean, the dude.
He's been doing it though, consistently.
From like half court to tie the game and send it to overtime. He's been great in every game. I just don't know if he's 46 points great. And Embiid, it's funny, as dead as he looks, he woke up the second half of the fourth quarter and was great in overtime and had a freaking triple-double to go with 4 blocks as well. He needs to do that and more again.
He looks a step slow, though, maybe even 2 steps.
He just looks unathletic. He looks immobile. On defense, he
looks like Kwame Brown. I mean,
he does. No, he can't move. Brunson's going right by him, and that's what led to the stupid-ass flagrant was all night Brunson would, put up the layup before Embiid could do anything because he can't move. So Embiid was aggressive. Brunson didn't go for the layup, and he hit him in the head by accident. I still feel like the Sixers are the better team when they're the Sixers. What we're seeing from Embiid, look, I give him credit for a guy that usually is hurt in the playoffs and doesn't bring it. He left it on the floor. He grabbed he dove for the ball and grabbed the last rebound, calling a timeout, something you never see from Embiid. So he wants this. And
he wants it more. Who wants it more? That another cliche we could throw in there. Who wants it more? That'll be the question.
The games have been very interesting and tight. I just feel like
very influenced by the officiating. Also,
my God, the refs are horrendous. The refs were horrendous. The 3 games in New York, especially.
Yes.
Holy shit, Brunson. It's funny. Look, I get it. He's small, but it's a physical game in the playoffs. Like. Other guys are bumping and grinding, and there's no calls. If there's any contact on fucking Brunson, and I know he's tiny,
they blow on Brunson. Yeah.
It's a fucking joke, man. Like he's literally reminds me of Harden. Like
you're waiting for the wink to the Gambino family from one of the officials. Say, okay, Tony, don't worry about it. Call the dogs off there. I'll be fine. All right, so that was an interesting game. How does Indy get crushed? With no Damian Lillard in there, no Antetokounmpo. Doc Rivers is coaching the Milwaukee Bucks. Did they make a coaching change or something? What the fuck happened there? Milwaukee 115, Indiana 92. So the Bucks do what we would have loved to do in our lives, people. And let's face it, are we not all, when you take it into the biggest of all equations, are we not all facing elimination at some point? That's the sad part. 115-92, though, an inexplicable blowout there. And, wow, I mean, as we said, the Cleveland-Orlando series goes now 3-2 Cleveland with the series shifting back to Orlando. As we say, one fucking dump of a city in Florida. Should not even count as a part of the state. But the Orlando Magic playing some inspired basketball. You know when they took Banchero #1 over Holmgren, did you think at the time that maybe they were getting a little cute? I wasn't sure that Banchero was going to be a better pro than Chet Holmgren, who turned out to be a pretty good pro after he got over that injury last year, having a great year for the #1 seed in the West, Oklahoma City. But when they took Banchero with the #1 pick, did that surprise you, Lubie, at the draft?
It was just Banchero's one of those guys that people didn't know what he could play. He's not big enough to really be a center. They weren't sure if he's athletic enough to cover wings. So it was one of those tweeners, and tweeners usually seem to bust out.
Kind of like a linebacker that's also going to play some D-line. Unless you're Jason Taylor, that doesn't really work.
Unless you're a guy that literally can just put like Khalil Mack. People weren't sure. Look, I didn't think he'd suck. It just, is he really going to be a #1? It felt like Chet Holmgren, if he could stay healthy, was going to be an elite player. Look, so far both franchises are happy. The Magic were the goddamn like 4 or 5 seed, which they haven't been in years.
This kid was great last night. He was unbelievable. Banchero had 39 points in the game, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists, I believe. A tremendous ball game all the way around. He was hitting shots from the Coke machine. It was absolutely fantastic. All right, quickly, the NHL, all elimination games last night. 2 teams go, and the other 2 teams managed to go on. Toronto wins in overtime over Boston. Nice. The Toronto-Boston winner is going to get the Florida Panthers, who look great in their series against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we'll see who emerges from that. Boston still leads that thing 3-2. Carolina eliminates the Islanders. I think that was expected. They now have a matchup against the Rangers in round 2. Pretty hefty, lofty matchup there. Carolina favored actually in the odds, strangely enough. They're our sleeper team to win the Stanley Cup, and they're the fucking favorites, Lubie. That'd be like me giving you Fierceness and Sierra Leone as the 1-2 choices in the Kentucky Derby coming up on Saturday, which, by the way, is an orgasmic event for anybody that's of a degenerate nature. So you want to make sure that you do a little handicap in there. We'll give you some insight into that tomorrow. We'll have some selections for you on the show, and, of course, we'll double down on that on Friday, because it's your best chance to make a score all year long in a single sporting event, the Kentucky Derby. Always overlay prices, because what is the one thing that every degenerate craves? And that is sucker money, dead money in the pools. And you're going to get a lot of that. The pools swell to enormous proportions, and you're going to get overlay payoffs if you do anything outside of betting the favorites in the race. And actually, there are only 2 horses with short prices, and the third choice is 8-1. Everything else is like 100-1. So you should be able to make a score there, because some piece of garbage is going to sneak in there. You're screaming at the screen there if you're watching it on TV or some monitor somewhere, or if you're actually at the track. Come on, you pig! Come on, you pig! When you're being disparaging to the horses that you're rooting for, that's when you know that you have the sickness. All right, so Carolina eliminates the Islanders. That was anticipated. Colorado eliminates Winnipeg. They won 4 straight after losing the opener there. High-scoring series. Goaltending a little bit suspect, both sides. And Nashville stays alive against your Vancouver Canucks. Your team, Mr. Don Cherry, to win it all. The Vancouver Canucks go down, and so Nashville now is at a 3-2 deficit in that series, but with the game going back to the Predators' home ice, which is a very imposing place to play, as we saw. Holy PK Subban, what are we talking about here? They're crazy in Nashville. They got these country stars. Everybody is out there. Chet Atkins is singing the anthem. So could be a very imposing task for the Vancouver Canucks after losing at home last night in an elimination game. But it was great all the way around. Absolutely fantastic. I got the Derby coming up this week. Kind of unfortunate note there. Mike Trout, did he have the most star-crossed career? Mike Trout now out with a torn meniscus for 4 weeks. He already had 10 home runs in the month of April. Looked like he was on his way to another spectacular season, and the guy, unfortunately, spends about half his time on injured reserve as opposed to being out there on the field. On this day, Lubie, one final thing. On this day in 1891, Cy Young got his first ever victory. That's one of those records that it's not even in question whether it'll ever be approached, right? Cy Young with like 500 wins.
Man, people don't even get to 300 anymore.
People don't get 20 in a season anymore, much less 500 for their career. Babe Ruth hit his first Yankee home run on this day in 1920.
There you go.
That was one of the worst deals ever made, wasn't it? I mean, does that qualify automatically as a separate category with this guy, Henry Frazee, I believe, or Harry Frazee was his name? He was the owner of the Red Sox, and he's trying to finance a bomb of a Broadway production, No No Nanette. And so he trades the Bambino to the Yankees for cash to finance his losing project on Broadway. How pathetic. And initiates the curse of the Bambino, which hovered over the Boston Red Sox organization for like 80-something years. I think that's a bad trade. That's worse than Doncic for Trae Young. All right, so we have to run. A lot of fun being with you. Too much action to keep up with last night. Our thanks to Henry, by the way, from No Filter. Always doing a great job promoting the shows. Thank you, people, for tuning in on nofilter.net. And, of course, Caffeine TV, the various other platforms that carry the show. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff Elimination DeForest. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time with the next edition of the Morning Briefing.